Growing up in the slums of Gorbachev Market and Red Light, I wonder what would have been of me. There was little to look up to. There was little to aspire to as a young man. And all I knew is what was before me and what I could see and what I had, like many other young people in Liberia. And often my mother would say, things will get better one day, so you have to be serious. You have to focus on what you must do. But then we had to go to the markets. I had to sell buckwheat by cup, rice by cup. I had to sell in the winter market, kerosene, like many other children, thousands of children in Liberia. It was difficult to even imagine that I could have been where I am today. It was difficult to think beyond the markets of real life. It was difficult to think beyond the struggle in Gorbachev Market. And then I found myself on the Buduburan camp in Ghana, first in the Ivory Coast and then in Ghana later on. And it dawned on me that this was not just about me. This was something greater, more than I could imagine. It was something greater than any political dynasty. It was something greater than any president. It was something greater than any temporary measure. I realized that my success or failure had a greater impact on my country, Liberia. I realized that my story was incomplete until it could be presented and seen within the context of the young people that are left in Gorbachev Market. I realized that my story was incomplete until it could be seen through the eyes of young girls and boys down Waterside Market or down West Point or down Niku Town or up in Banga or up in Lofa or up in Grand Cru or up in River G. And then I realized the value of what I have been given must be fully exploited and not be overlooked. I said here today, I am pleased to be launching a Liberian Dream show. I am pleased to be in the position to share with you my thoughts about how the son of a single mother, the son of a certified midwife from Gorbachev Market could be in a position that he's in today without ever having access to any of the most influential political offices in our country, without having access to wealth, without having access to money, without having access to influence. How could that happen? And I've come to realize that I've come to accept that this story is not just for myself. I've come to accept that this story is for thousands and hundreds of young Liberians, whether in the diaspora, whether still in refugee camps somewhere, or whether still selling plastic bag in the markets of red light. And this is why I'm here. And this is why the Liberian Dream is the Liberian Dream. It has to be something that is so dear to us, that is not conditioned on any one government or any one person. It has to be something so dear that is impossible to fade, regardless of which generation it is. I've come to share with you that thing that I've managed to find that is so unbending that no government, no politician, nobody is able to stop me from translating who I am into success for my country, into success for my community, into success for the boys and girls still loitering the streets, into success for the people you like to call Zogos who are victims of war, for the people you like to call Zogos who are the victims of perpetrators that you call honorables. That's why I'm here. That's what the Liberian Dream is, that regardless of social class, regardless of political class, we all can see ourselves in the future of our country, not based on how much money we've got, not on which families we come from, not based on which communities we grow up in, but based on our inner ability, based on the gift that we've been endowed with, based on we've been given called Liberia. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, boys and girls everywhere, what good is your story when it has no real context and it does not connect to its beginning? I'm here where I am today because of my story, and we will own that story, and this make sure that we talk about our story, regardless of how bad it is, regardless of how not so good it looks. Our own is our own, and it is up to us to determine what the future of our story looks like. My name is Leo Napolo Johnson, and I'm coming to you live from the beautiful city of Hamilton, all the way in Canada. Thanks to Focus on Liberia for hosting first edition, and I'm joined by some very distinguished guests who are fellow. I have with me today Abigail Dorba coming in all the way from Liberia. I have Queenie Collins also coming in from the United States. And then I have Robertson Boylan, who is also joining us from Liberia. So I will start by letting him tell you who they are and a little bit about why they felt it was so important to be a part of this show and why it is so important that they can add their contribution to this topic that we are going to be discussing and the type of narrative that we are trying to create. The narrative for Liberia, one that we all can see ourselves reflected in. I will start. You are on mute, Queenie. We can get started with you, Queenie, instead, but you're on mute.
Oh, really? Okay. Who are we starting with now?
Queenie, we can get started with you since you
Oh,
already
okay.
won.
Oh, thank you so much, Leah. First of all, I want to say thank you so much to Focus on Liberia for the opportunity for us to use this platform and to utilize this platform to share my Liberian dream, and to my very own mentor, Leah, for placing me here on this platform to, communicate to you guys my Liberian dream and what it is to in the Liberia that I dream of. And one of the reasons why, I'm to this level of understanding is that, coming from Australia as a refugee from Liberia and relocating in the United States, I really have no direction as to who I am and my identity, and I have more understanding around Liberia. So when it comes to doing things with purpose, that there, it's really hard because you don't know yourself, and by not understanding your thoughts, it becomes really hard for you to differentiate what you're for and what you are against. And so being here today, I'm so happy and I'm so blessed to be on this platform. One of my vision here is to inspire our Liberian entrepreneurs through meaningful strategy, growth strategy, and social impact to promote cultural identity. And I know that is very much important to me because, knowing this ahead of time will have really helped me navigate my career, navigate who I am, and also contribute towards my community. So thank you so much. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, and I'd love to connect with you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Queenie. We'll be coming back. You hear a little more from Queenie and how it's contextual to the Liberian Dream discussion that we're having. But I will take this time now to go to Abigail. Abigail, you have to unmute yourself.
Hello, everybody. So my name is Abigail Dober. So I've lived in Liberia all of my life, and I too also have a dream, the Liberian Dream, and I'm hoping that within a few years we'll be able to, see it, that we can be able to contextualize it and make it very authentic. Because I believe that we already have a dream, but we just need to rediscover it because we lost our roots and we've lost our identity. Even those of us that stay here, we don't have a particular thing that we go by to say that makes me a Liberian because we've lost our roots. So hopefully the Liberian Dream can help us get back on track and find our way. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Abigail. Thank you again. We will come back. You will get to hear from them a little bit more. Robertson, you have to unmute yourself as well. Robertson is on to you. You're actually muted, Rob. Okay, you're good now.
Well, I would like to say good afternoon to those of us in Nigeria and good afternoon everyone. My name is Robertson. I'm glad to be a member of this platform.
Um,
I
Robertson,
was coming from,
Can you check your audio, please? I think we're having a little bit of challenge with your audio.
okay, I can do that just right away. Is it better now?
It's a bit better.
Jesus.
Just try to speak louder. All right, I think Robertson is having a bit of a network problem there, as you would expect. He's coming in from Liberia, but we will keep things rolling until we can actually get Robertson back in. But here is what the conversation is today, everybody. What does it mean when you tell somebody I am a Liberian? We have this conversation all the time. Whenever I speak to Liberians and ask about Liberia, the first thing I hear from people is, oh, I don't know what we're doing in this country. We're not going anywhere. Look at Ghana. Look at Sierra Leone. Look at Nigeria. I've come today. The reason I thought through this show and trying to get it on is because, first of all, I really want us to change the narrative of thinking of ourselves only through the story of other people. Ghana is Ghana. Ghana has their story, and they've managed to do what they've done with their story to get to where they are. Sierra Leone is Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone has their story, and we must appreciate and admire the good that they've done with their story. But Liberia has a story, and our story is different. And I care less which lens you see our story, whether you see it as one of sorrow, as one of war, as one of destruction. It is our story. We must own it as a people. We must reflect on the areas that needs to be reflected upon. We must feel sad about the parts of it that we need to express our sorrow over. We must also be able to celebrate the areas of it that we must celebrate. Because you know what? I can never be a Ghanaian. I'm not. I don't aspire to. I don't aspire to be a Sierra Leonean. I don't aspire to be an Ivorian. There's a reason why I was put in Liberia. And we have to be so intentional about this, that the little child in Redlet Market who only knows how to sell well should know that through their selling every day to the future of Liberia. That the little child or the little girl all the way in Vonjama who is helping her mother to make a pepper farm can understand that she too has a stake in the future of Liberia. That the little child that wakes up every day and go to school also has a stake in the future of Liberia. This, my friends, is the narrative. We need to be so intentional because Liberia is all we've got. And as a result, we must give it everything we've got. I think Robertson is back. Robertson, can we see if we can get you on again? If you can put your phone landscape, Robertson, it might be better to just turn your phone around. It might be great if we can get you to do your phone landscape.
This way, I think it is really giving me a hell today. My computer has just failed me.
But your audio is great. So we will allow you to introduce yourself at this point. Go ahead.
So once again, my name is Robertson. Robertson D. Boylan. I'm from Liberia. I live right here in Pinsville. I'm glad to be on the show. Like I was saying earlier on, I'm a fellow from the Kuwo Leadership Training Academy here in based in Canada, and I'm in Liberia, like I said earlier on. So I'm glad to be a part of this Liberian Dream. You know, there's one thing that really draws my attention, and it gives me the courage to be a part and to encourage my fellow young people out there and to be a part of this Liberian Dream. Because there's one thing, it says that the Liberian Dream is an ideology where progress is an intentional, continual, rooted in increased cultural understanding, community-driven solutions, and culturally responsive system. So you see, in our typical Liberian setting, our culture is actually broken down. You don't find it anywhere in our everyday life. For me, I've lived all of my life in Liberia here. It is very much difficult for us to identify with our culture. We don't know it. We don't understand it. We try to copy after every other person. So I believe that this is an opportunity for us to come together, to be able to identify our culture, to be able to live it, and to sell it to the rest of the world, to tell the world who we are. So I am so glad to be on this platform, and I look forward to kind of working and just pushing this dream forward. Thank you so much, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. Now let's look at some contextual things as I go to our distinguished young guests that we have here today. All of them who made the time to be here. I often ask the question, right? When we say the first thing we'll be highlighting is what we are calling community-driven solutions. I will start with you, Queenie. Someone like you who left Liberia very young, went to Australia as a refugee, grew up there, and then decided to relocate to the United States. Queen,
Yeah.
do you fully understand what does it mean to you when you say you are a Liberian? Do you really think that your part in Liberia is something that you fully understand and appreciate? Tell us a little bit first about how much
Yeah.
you know or don't know about Liberia just because of how your life has evolved.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Leo. Most of us that in the diaspora who, migrated um to the United States or anywhere in the world at a very young age, we lose track of who we are and our identity. So yeah, we are when we come to this country, one of our objectives is to get our higher education, and we are adapting to a system. Some of us, we don't even identify ourselves as Liberian. I'm a witness to that. As a young girl from Liberia, migrated to Australia around when I was 5 years. So, and there was no inspiration around me or any kind of form of mentor around me to really allow me to express my identity or to ask my mom these questions. You go to school, you achieve your marks, you work, and that's all to it. But after moving to the United States, one of my dream here, and that's why I'm so happy to be on this platform, is to be able to identify myself as a Liberian and to do that with boldness. Because, even when it comes to the series, when it comes to the speaking and all that, that's even a little clue here that sometimes we try to, uniform ourselves with everybody to conform with everybody. And we leave behind ourselves and who we are as a Liberian. We want to sound like other people, want to do things like other people. But what I came to realize, especially, is that whatever we do, whether it's in the little things we do at our workplace, we should have our identity at heart. Even if it's a small conversation we're having with our colleague at work, we shouldn't feel the need to uniform ourselves to anything, but we should always put our identity and put much emphasis on it and to respect it and to have confidence in it. And that has always been a struggle to me because at 3 years old, you come to a foreign country, you don't know much about where you're coming from, during the war and that disconnection with your identity, your culture, and everything. You grow up knowing only what you have adapted to. But the source of your identity is where you're from. And in order for you to endure into a new chapter or to really help into the national development of Liberia, you need to first understand who you are and to always be able to talk about what you're for and not what you're against. Most of the time, it got to a point where I will refer myself as Ghanaian because I would think it was better for me to say I'm Ghanaian than to say that I'm Liberian. And and it's a sad thing for even myself to be thinking. But I'm so grateful that being part of the core leadership training with Leo Johnson as my mentor, even the series that sometimes when I call you and speaking series, say Queenie, that series thing go to your English teacher. But at the end of the day, we should always identify ourselves. And it's something that I'm working on. And I'm so glad to have the knowledge and to apply the knowledge and to be able to stand for where I am and to be able to share my Liberian dream to those around me within my work environment, even within my own family and personal context.
Thank you so much, Queenie. Abigail, let me come to you. And I think Queenie, you touch on some real important things that we'll be talking about on in terms of not having any yeah.
I think we lost you, Leo. I think we're having a really bad connection with Leo.
So if Abigail will go ahead, it will be very nice because you already
Yeah,
asked the
so
question.
sorry, folks. I know we are having issues, some connection issues here, but there is very little I can do about that. Abigail, I will come to you, Abigail. For someone like you who live in Liberia, where nowadays the only way you can be relevant in Liberia, the narrative that have been created, is when you are involved in politics. That is the problem that we've actually come to. So, Abigail, I would like for you to give me your own, experience as someone who lives in Liberia, have never left Liberia. Um, how do you see Liberia? Do you feel as a young person you are giving the level of credence and the opportunities that are required for you to use your own ability as a Liberian? And do you feel part of our national agenda when it comes to what does it mean for me in terms of my contribution to Liberia as a citizen?
Hello, everybody again. Um, so for me, how do I understand the whole Liberian dream, or being a Liberian first of all? So for me, it means that it comes with all the rights, the privilege, and the responsibilities, that comes along with the whole Liberian citizenship stuff. But living in Liberia like all my life, especially with the whole politics saga that is, I don't know, it has gone so far that it has we our people have forgotten about us, the younger generation. So I think that I tend to feel that I'm being left out of a lot of things because, well, you have to be friend of the minister or friend of this or friend of that, or you have to be part of this or other political party and stuff like that. But I don't think that I'm being involved in it like the whole Liberian dream as per the entire government stuff, sort of like. I don't know.
Abigail, do we still have you?
Yeah,
Are you finished?
yeah.
Thank you. Robertson, let me come to you quickly. And then, I mean, you heard Abigail. I heard some of the frustration in some of her expression when it comes to where we got a lot of young, brilliant people in Liberia, for example, doing all kinds of amazing things, but they don't get the same level of attention. They are not valued. Like I often say, if you are a brilliant math student in Liberia and you never get the chance to leave Liberia, it's a sorrowful thing because the only thing you can easily become is a math teacher. That's the only thing you can become. There is no other opportunity. And all of a sudden, we see that only those who
Right.
choose to go into the political sphere tend to get so much attention, and we abandon everything else. How do you see yourself as part of the Liberian dream? And can you say what you're being given right now, or the opportunities that are available to you right now, does it make you feel like you are part of our country's future?
So I would say bluntly, yes. From this training, from the previous training from core leadership, I've come to understand that yes, I am a Liberian, and not just being a Liberian like every other person, but I owe it to this country. So most of the time, I've always sat and said the government will do this for us. The government must do this. As a young person, you must clean our community. Aside from cleaning our community, government owes everything to us. So when I see that things are not moving, I tend to blame the government. But I'm at a point where I'm not seeking solutions to some of the problems within Liberia. It may not be like making a whole impact or making a big impact, but in my own understanding, the way I see Liberia now, it means that all hands should be on deck. All young person should think that we belong, we gotta do something for Liberia. If we just sit back and look and say, okay, we identify all of the problems and continue to complain and talk, no one is going to come from elsewhere to come and fix Liberia into the way we want to see Liberia. So therefore, moving forward as a young person, I've understood from this leadership training, and as a young person, I must start it by myself in my community, from the way I behave, from the way I conduct myself. Like you were saying once, it might be possible that I might not even travel out of Liberia. So what if I don't travel out of Liberia? Does it mean that I will stay and then just see everything spoiled within Liberia? I said no. So there are ways in which I can be able to contribute to Liberia, to be able to see that the best can come out of Liberia as well. So for me, being as a Liberian, or how I consider myself, I just don't consider myself like Liberia owe it to me, or but I too, I owe it to Liberia. I must give back to this country in whatever way I find myself doing, whatever meaningful way I can contribute. I must contribute to fix Liberia. So the education, the knowledge, even bringing me to this platform is something that I can speak to my colleagues about. I can even, talk to them in another way that they can look at Liberia. So for me, I think I owe it to Liberia. Thank you.
Thank you. And now let me just lay some premise for everybody. I'm one person who've argued that the agenda for development and progress in Liberia cannot be based or conditioned on one government. For too long, we've been taught that we should just wait for the next election. If this one is bad, and we wait for the next election to make it better. And if the next election is bad, we wait for the next election to make it better. We have to be able to develop an agenda for our country, an agenda for nation building that is, not conditional any one government, regardless of whether there is bad government or good government. The Liberian dream has to be that thing that keeps us so strong and grounded and rooted that, in fact, whenever governments are not great, we need to work extra hard to get things going. Because you know what? Governments will come and go. We will still be here. In our lifetime, we've never managed to get our country to a place where we are living normal times. In our lifetime. Simply because we've been taught by everything we've seen in our country that if you don't aspire to manage to get into politics or become some type of politician, or don't aspire to become rich or get money somehow, or if you don't travel, we've been told you are nothing. Our young people are being told that if you don't travel to go to the West, or you don't go to some kind of Western institution, or you don't become a politician, or you're not a wealthy person, then that means you have no place in the discussion of our country. And this must change. We must realize that our nation building is not contingent on what type of government we get during every election. In fact, we need to help our young people, mentor them, support them to become so strong, and their will is so unbending that regardless of which government is there, that no government is capable of stopping them from fully. If they make farms, let their farms be so meaningful that it affects their community. If they only know how to clean, let their cleaning be so good. Let's support them. Let's promote them. Let's make them believe in it so much. If they only know how to sing, let's help them to sing so well and let them know that their singing is so important that if they don't sing well, Liberia will be affected negatively. If they only know how to write, let's help them realize that their writing is so important that if they don't work hard to do it well, Liberia will be negatively impacted because they did not do their writing well. I think this is where our development agenda needs to actually go. But I'm going to ask you, Robertson, and I will start with you and then go back. Or I just ended with you, so maybe I will start with Queenie again. What does it mean that in a country that we call our own, we say we are Liberian citizens? However, our local languages are things that have been abandoned and trashed to the dustbin, where today 9 out of 10 young Liberians that I talk to have no clue of their own local languages, have no clue. How can you say you are from a household when you cannot understand the way I can talk? How can you say you are from Liberia when, to be honest with you, the only thing we don't care about in our country is our local languages? We care more about promoting the white man's language, which is English, something that was left with us, and we cannot even speak it well at the detriment of our own local languages. Queenie, let me hear your take on that.
Leah, that question is very, very, very to the core of what this is all about. And even to my own testimony, you see, one thing about the youth, and I emphasize on the youth a lot because me, myself, I'm a youth. And to have a mentor in our life to help and shape our understanding of where we are from. Because going back to a lot of youth who migrated to the diaspora, some of us we left Liberia at a very young age. We don't have no knowledge as to whatever who we are, our language. Some of us we not uniform ourselves as to be the white man or the serious girl in the room, or the way we do certain things to make us so differentiated from other people that sound like us. We will take ourselves from that. But the question that I always ask myself, and I'm so happy to you, Leah, as a mentor, is not what Liberia can do for us, but it's what we can do for Liberia. And that desire to have in our heart is to work with other people and to learn where we're from, to immerse ourselves, not just to focus on getting your degree, and then after you get your degree, you go back and replicate back there, and then that be the story. But at the end of the day, you want to immerse yourself and to identify the issue, immerse yourself in the issue, know what is going on, be intentional about things that you are doing, and don't try to take yourself any special because of your bachelor's degree or the way you sound. Matter of fact, we youth, we need to start to work together. My dream is to see my fellow Liberian sister anywhere, whether at a job, to speak my Kolowa, to understand what I'm saying. Even if I don't understand what she's saying, that she will be able to teach me. It shouldn't be, oh, I don't want to sound like that because I sound uneducated. And that's the belief most of us have. When you start to speak the Liberian English, most people would think that, oh, you're not educated, or you're not uniforming how you're sounding, or you're not part of that group or whatever that is. But so your question, Leo, I think proper knowledge and mentorship to our youth who move over to the diaspora is very important for us right now, for us to arm our hands around these youth, to educate them about Liberia, especially around the current issues around our identity, so that that desire can further grow in us. So at the end of the day, our developing agenda is that we can now stand in front of other people and talk about what we are for, rather than inducing ourselves into conversation about what we are not for. Because most of the time, we don't even know where we're coming from, but yet we have so much to talk about what we're not, what we are against. But the question here is, with proper knowledge and understanding of our identity, with proper knowledge and understanding of where we're from, our nation, Liberia, and working together towards the development for our nation will help us to be able to go out there as missionary and be confident in ourselves, to speak our language without no hesitation to say, oh, I don't want to speak Liberian English. Most of my mentors around me, when I go talk to them, I always put a series. But there is nothing in this world that feels great than speaking in your native tongue and knowing that somebody understands. Even if people don't understand you, there's just a working force of what it is to be that Liberian dream tomorrow,
Thank
that
you.
we can be confident in what we speak.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Queenie. Abigail, I would throw the same question to you, where we have young people in our country and old people alike in Liberia today who've never gone anywhere at all. They've always lived in Liberia. But we are getting like less and less people even understanding the context of our culture, even understanding our local language, or even being able to speak it. How do you feel, Abigail, as a young person, when you get out there and say, I am from Liberia, this is who I am, but then be like, oh, but unfortunately, I can't, speak any of the languages, or I can't understand any of their languages. And at the same time, we subjecting our children within our education system that they must learn English, that they must speak English. There is nothing wrong with that. I think it's great. In fact, learn many languages as you want. But what is the context of your story and the value of it when you cannot even learn yourself, but your only goal is to learn to be like everybody else?
Yeah, so I understand that a lot of powerful nations have their own language and they've embraced it, and I think that's one thing that we as Liberians have failed to understand, that your language makes you authentic, makes you original. So I remember I went to Nigeria years back, and I was trying to converse with the people on the Lagos University of Lagos campus, and it was very difficult because there was nobody, to speak like I do. And another problem is Liberians tend to leave their identity. So it's not just people that have traveled or stay out of the country. So you have people that were born here, that were born in the hinterlands, right? I have family members that were born over there, that grew up speaking their dialects or the language. But when it came to the city, they made it look like it was a crime. So they refuse to teach their children, and even the children themselves don't want to learn. So it's like 50-50. It's like the youth and the older people. Like nobody wants to be bothered with the whole language thing. And you'll find out that an example, right? No disrespect to the Nigerian pastors, but when a Nigerian pastor comes to Liberia, to live and build a church and reside over his or her congregation, and Liberians within that church will start to speak like Nigerians. I mean, you're not supposed to do that. If I go to a particular country, I will try to adjust. Not me in my own country adjusting to another kind of language. I should be teaching people how to speak a local. Take like Nigeria and Ghana for instance, they have the pidgin, right? And you have BBC World Service they have an entire Facebook page that report news in the pidgin. Why can't we be like that? If we don't have, I know we have 15 different languages, or 16, sorry, and it's kind of difficult to choose one. But we have the dominant one, be Pele or Va, But why can't we choose the colloquial? Like make it formal. Like the other day, Leo, you talked about a dictionary, right, and all of that. Why can't we make it formal that when we go somewhere, we will not feel left out? And we as Liberians, we must always remember to embrace our roots, embrace our dialect, because it makes us who we are. There's no go and come. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Abigail. Robertson, let me let you chime in here quickly.
Okay, Leos. Thank you so much. So once again, in relation to this local dialect or language thing, or what are the things that make us Liberian, we are really lacking behind when it comes to identity as Liberian. Something to really unify us, to identify us, is really lacking. So, and part of that, I will blame it on the youth. I will also blame it on policymakers. Why I will say policymakers? Number one, I will start with Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs, and Tourism, for example. So if you go to our schools, to our elementary schools around Monrovia, in the hinterland, they don't have programs to even teach a local language or to even teach our culture to our brothers and sisters. So it only takes, a mind that will understand that yes, it is important for me to pass this on to my child. And then you find parents, those kind of parents passing their languages over or their dialects onto their children. So that sense that we should take it and then pass it on, we have not come to that point in Liberia where our policymaker can say, yes, we want this and we've identified this, we must share it with our people so that it becomes, like Abigail was saying, a national or something like our mother tongue where we can communicate into. So take, for example, if I will ever meet people like Queenie somewhere, they I can communicate with Queenie aside from English, which is so bad. Like she was making reference to other nationals who want to go, just their conversation. They are actually speaking their dialects, and then you are like lost. You are feeling, cheated, but that is that. But in Liberia, it's the other way around. If you don't speak English, people feel that you are not educated. Even we found it in our presidents and everywhere they are educated, they can speak the local dialects, but to speak it out is another issue. So it takes only someone who understands to say, okay, I understand it's important for me. Then of course I can be able to communicate. And quickly, Leo, to be able to kind of like go further, just to give you the chance. There's one more thing in Liberia actually that has kind of broken our entire culture and our values down. This issue about the polarization of our culture. We know for a fact that this country, people have been coming in, we have settlers, we have this. And I just read something very important. I just got to know this. And I read it from one guy. His name is Yakute Gasoni. And that book he wrote, the book is called The Black Colonization, and it's called American Liberian Scramble for the Hinterland. So I just read a piece within our book. It talks about where our president back then, before they even granted citizenship to Liberian, to the original people that were here, they needed them to strip them of their African, traditions and their cultures and everything, but accept certain value, certain Western culture. I think from that point on, our cultures were being looked down upon. Because when these people came, they said, before you take on this one, you must deny this. And we took these things and we felt that was the way out. So we've been living with it, and then we just passing it on. And these people, our old people, are dying without sharing their thoughts and everything with our young people, and it's really a problem. So there, I want to stop to allow you to say another thing, but I think it's really a problem.
Yeah, so thank you, Robertson. For those of you who got questions, you can start to post your questions now, and you can also call in. I think if you look on the screen on the numbers, you can call in our technical crew will be willing to let you in so you can ask your questions and make your comments. But I just want to say one thing. Today is just an introduction of the show. This is the first episode. So we talk on a lot of general things. Going forward, as of the next episode of the show, we will start to drill in. I will be internet keeps coming in and going out, but we will try to manage it as much as we can. I don't know why. So sorry, folks, if you're getting some break in there from my end. That is the reason why. I don't know why. But like I said, we will focus on the three foundational pillars that I believe should be the core of the Liberian dream. Number one should be community-driven solutions. Community-driven solutions. This attitude that we borrow everything we must do. We must come here to the West. We see how they build their buildings, and then we go back and try to replicate it. Our Constitution must be a photocopy of the United States Constitution. Our Pledge of Allegiance is a photocopy of the United States Pledge of Allegiance. Our names, our streets, the way we want to behave must be photocopied from anywhere. Whenever we do that, we're basically trying to erase ourselves. We're basically trying to do away with the local innovation and abilities that we already have. What's wrong? What's wrong with us learning other things, but still valuing ours? This shirt that I'm wearing, I'm pleased that it was woven and made right in Liberia. What's wrong with us embracing that? What's wrong with the person who designed and made this shirt being valued and promoted as a designer as well? They don't need to be able to sew a Western style coat suit or whatever that is. So community-driven solutions is going to be a key piece. Another one is going to be understanding our culture. Pretty much what this means, cultural understanding, is understanding who we are. Let me give you one lesson that you should take away from here today if you took away nothing from the show. Let's stop valuing ourselves only in comparison to others. If you've been to Ghana and you admire the way the people behave, ask yourself, what is it can I learn from here that maybe will be, practical in Liberia to make us better? Stop telling us, oh, look at Liberians, they can do nothing, but look at the Ghanaians do this. No, you know why we can be like the Ghanaians? Because we are not the Ghanaians. Our story is different, our experience is different, and we must build the Liberian dream based on cultural understanding, who we are. Based on community-driven solutions, what are the things that we own and know already in our country that looks good? And many of you also like to denigrate and talk down on our cultures, right? Look, let me not sit here and lie to you. Our culture has some things that we must change, that it is not acceptable. But it also has a lot of things that we haven't even learned to appreciate the good things of our culture. So most of the people who talk about it do not even understand it. Here are young people sitting on the show who do not even understand it. How do you expect them to appreciate it or know how to change it? 30 years from now, we will be the elders of the day. And if we're not careful, we'll be novice to our own culture, even as elders. So we will not be able to use the authority that we have as elders to help make that change. So those three things that I've mentioned, community-driven solutions, understanding our culture, who we are, and then building culturally responsive systems. You people, we who came here and went to school in the West, stop memorizing your templates and bringing them back to Liberia and trying to make them work in Liberia. They do not work. Stop it. Come here, learn, see what you can learn. But when you go back to Liberia, now you have to understand how you can contextualize it to what Liberia is. Look, let me give you a simple example. We got 80% of our country probably that does not speak, read, or write proper English, right? But the main mode of communication that all of us are struggling to use is the use of the English language. So we only satisfy speaking to 20% of our population when 80% of, look, we need to be able to know in real market selling beta ball. How she managed to put 4 children through university from selling beta ball. That is who we are. We need to be studying how can we elevate the resilience, the system, and the method that woman who's selling beta boy is doing, as she's managed to pay the tuition of 4 children successfully through university. We need to understand the guy up interior in Lofa who never went to any classroom but can make you the best drum you can think about. That is education. We need to understand how we elevate that the same way we respect the people who get a BSc from Cottington University or LU.
Yes,
that's the dream. Robertson, go ahead.
Yes, Leo. So just to contribute to that, a couple of months back, like 2, 3, I think I was in October, I had an experience. There's a little boy, he's a son of my friend. The little boy fell from a tree. In fact, he's 11 years old. He fell from the tree and his arm got broken. For one or two reasons, his parents kept him at home. They were not treating him. And later on, they moved him onto the hospital, and the only alternative they had was to amputate that little boy hand. And for sure, they did that. And it was so much, sorrowful that people had to live with that kind of thing. And you have people in Liberia, what I'm trying to say is just like what we kind of like abuse of our traditional herbs and all these things. They may have all the bad part of it, but there are good medicines that people can get, treatment from. And people's legs can be broken badly. I've seen some people's legs getting broken, and then it get fixed, it get healed just from these treatments from these people. But now we all believe that the only solutions to these things are the sciences. Yes, it is good to go to the hospitals to get treatment, but that little boy lost his arm just because they brought him to the hospital. At the end of the day, his parents actually were not able, because they kept him for some reasons. For some days at home, and the condition the hand was in, there was no other way that they could use to kind of like treat him. The only option was to cut off his hand.
All right, Robertson, thank you for that vivid example. I will take some questions from our comments here, and then I'll let you guys chime in as well. But the first question we have here is from Mohammed Salia Dukle. Mohammed says Liberian Pidgin English is an adulterated form of real English. Doesn't that negatively impact our mentality as Liberians? Why can't we learn our own native languages? So here's what I will say to that, Mohammed. Yes, we should learn our own native languages, but Liberian, you have to realize that languages are interconnected. So let me ask you, for example, Gio that is spoken in Liberia, in Cote d'Ivoire, Yakuba is also Gio, but it's slightly different. So when we say one is an adulterated form of the other, no, languages evolve. English was brought back to Liberia by the people who came back speaking English. And what they did, they evolved the English language into a language that they can understand, because they were not able to speak proper English, because most of them did not go to school to learn English. So what did they do? They contextualized the language. But what is the value of language? Language is something that is rooted in your identity, that has part of your experiences all wrapped into it. So Liberian Pidgin English has a place in our identity. In fact, Liberian Pidgin English is mixed with our local languages, right? I didn't even know. We call friends in Liberia, we call them Ba. You know how we can say Ba can here? I didn't even know about our Basa. Now, Ba is not even an English word, it's a Basa word. So yes, we should learn our local languages. I agree with you 100%. And those of you who say, how can I learn it when nobody's speaking around me or whatever? That's a poor excuse. We went to Ghana, we learned Tree. We went to Cote d'Ivoire, we learned broken French. Some of you learn Bambara. Some of you learn Yoruba. Some of you can speak some of the toughest languages in the world. Some of you speak Cantonese. Some of you speak Mandarin. Hard Asian languages, and you learn it as an adult. Some of you learn Norwegian in 1 year. So if you as an adult, you were never taught your own traditional language or dialect from your young age, you are an adult. My question to you is, what effort are you making to actually speak it? Rather than saying because it is not taught in school. So I would say to all of us, it is your responsibility is like saying, because the people don't have rice in the market, how you expect me to buy rice? When you really want to eat rice, you will find it. If it means you have to go to 5 different markets looking for it, you will find it. And somebody asked another question. Let me go to the other question before I come to you guys. Mohammed again said, you mentioned our culture. What is that Liberian culture? Mohammed, let me give you some. Liberian culture, part of it is based on the Poro society and the Sunday society. That too is Liberian culture, right? Liberian culture. If you go from county to county in Liberia, the way we eat, the way we handle food, the way we dress, our languages, these are all various components of our culture. So when I say understand Liberian culture, I'm saying to you, take some time. Do you know butter? Do you understand why they handle it in a certain way? Do you know why the people in Lofa County love to make big farms? Do you know why the poorer society itself has become such an ingrained part of our local culture? Do you know why the Sunday society is there? Now, you'll be too quick to tell. Somebody is asking, what about African spirituality? African spirituality are things like the poorer society. and things like the Sender Society. All of them are forms of African spirituality. So now, before you disagree with something, you must seek to understand. And I think this is where the mistake is. We're so quick to say because somebody said this thing is bad, so it's bad. Or because a portion of your culture or something your culture practices is bad, so you decide that you will condemn your entire culture. I dare you to show me one culture in the world that does not have a negative in it. We are human beings. We are flawed by design. So whatever we do is not perfect. So it behooves us to start working hard to evolve our cultures, to start working hard to make it better, to start working hard at those things that we know now that are not so great, to start working hard to see how best we can educate ourselves about it and change it. But how can you talk about your culture when you know nothing about it? How can you speak about things you don't understand? How can you even understand your own culture when you go to your village? You see certain things, you are laughing at it because it looks funny to you. You don't even understand why is that. How can you understand your culture when you don't know why the people in the villages up interior build their huts round? When you go up interior, when you see the huts in the villages, they are all round. How can you talk about it when you do not understand it? So I'll say to everybody today, and I'm not here to tell you you should agree with what I've said is the Liberian dream. I'm here to provoke you into thinking, what is your Liberian dream? With citizenship comes responsibility. You are a citizen of Liberia and you say you have the right to go to Liberia whenever and leave Liberia ever. You have the right to vote. You have the right to participate. You have the right to own land. I want you to pause and ask yourself, with that right, what is your responsibility to your country? Because citizenship is not just about right. That's one side. It's also about responsibility. And I'm not here telling you be superior over somebody. I'm just here telling you help distinguish yourself for who you are. Liberians, let us stop running away from who we are. Let me give you an example. We in Liberia today, we got buildings going up with writings in English and Chinese. Name me one building you know in Liberia that has a Pele writing on it, or a Loma writing on it, or a Gio writing on it, or a Bassa writing on it. Name me one. It's even impossible to find local text in our languages that are written. The VAR has a written script. Pele has a written script. Loma has a written script. You cannot find it. It is impossible because we all are running away from ourselves. We think we are not good enough. And let me promise you today, you will never be what you are not because the things that you're looking for, God has already endowed you with it. There's a reason why you are Liberian. What you're looking for to make you great is right there with you already. But because in your eyes you feel it's not good enough, you're chasing other people's dreams. You are trying to be like the Ghanaians when you cannot. You're trying to be like the Nigerians when you cannot. And all you need to do is to take a pause and try to be Liberian because that's who you are. So those would be my response to those two questions, or my responses, or my reflection. I will let you guys chipping on, on somebody asking about why should we promote Liberian English when it's an adulterated form of English? Is it not a negative impact on us? That's a question somebody asked. And then the next question, he said, what is Liberian culture? So let me, Abigail, let me let you take a shot at it.
So I actually wanted to respond to I don't know whether it was a guy or a lady about why we're talking about learning a language, but it's not taught in school. Can I respond to that one?
Respond to whichever one, Abigail, you're feeling strongly about.
Okay, so I know we're talking about, the reason we are not learning our different dialects and languages is because, we're not taught about it in school. There is nothing like that within our curriculum. But I think that's not the main reason why we've refused to learn over the years. First of all, there's French for an example. I mean, everybody that has gone to high school and college, like for me, I took French from 4th grade up to 12th grade, and I'm still doing university. But here am I still cannot speak the language. So I think the problem is we have not embraced it. So the willpower is not there to learn. So somebody can come and take the book and beat it down your head, and you will still not want to learn it. That is on you. So I don't think it has anything to do with the curriculum or anything.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Just before you come in, let me just respond to a comment. Somebody say all African languages are not the same. Just to respond to that comment, somebody just said all African languages are the same. No, they're not. We have over 2,000 different languages on the African continent. For example, Pele that we speak in Liberia is a variation of the Bantu language. So these are sub-dialects of these languages, right? Sub-dialects of them. There are big languages in Africa. No, all African languages are not the same. Let's get that right. But Queenie, I'll let you take a shot at some of the questions that we just went over, and then Robertson, you can take a quick shot. We got about 10 more minutes. The time goes by so fast, and then I would try to actually wrap it in. We're actually out of time, but I would try to maybe go over by 5 minutes or so we can actually bring it home, and you all can get ready to make your closing statements. Queenie, take a shot, and then Robertson, you can go.
Yeah, I think the problem here, Leo, for me is that, the problem is that at the end of the day, not having Liberia in mind from the very start is why, and it's the main reason why some of us are in a position where we are, even to myself. Most of the time, what we need to do in our community with the whole dialect and understanding our culture, understanding our identity, we need our community, even ourselves, our community to put arms together around so that ourselves we can learn about identity. Sometimes our parents and the only conversation you can have with them is what bachelor degree they want you to do, what university you should go to, and other conversations. So changing the dialogue in itself that will promote us to learn other things about our country, to be able to say with our own coordinates so they could teach us other things. Last time myself, with my uncle asked me about the referendum in Liberia, and the conversation didn't even go far. But when I changed the conversation to bachelor degree or master degree, but it was so extended. So at the end of the day, our community leaders, our peers, our mentors, those that are even living in Liberia, such as Robertson, Abigail, even us in the diaspora, we rely heavily on you guys and your knowledge. So help us, and that comes with desire. But if you don't have the knowledge, how then can your desire be there? Because you need the knowledge to be able to apply that knowledge will require you a desire for you to go after it. So it requires us going out there and asking people for them to teach us. But it also really, I think, will be necessary for our community leaders and other mentors to be able to educate us. We need that education. We need to be able to call some of our mentors and really have a conversation on what's going on in Liberia, not having to talk just about politics and other things. Even myself, sometimes I even want to speak Bassa, but nobody may not have the time to teach me Bassa because our mom and our family, not that they don't have that care to do for us, but most of the time, all our family care about for us to do master's degree and have this perfect life and live in this country so they can be proud. We need to change that dialogue so our family now too can start shaping our minds. I have a daughter, and sometimes I speak Liberian to her. I say, you're Liberian. I start inputting this information in her right now so that when she goes to school, she should have Liberia in mind at every area in her life. She should be able to talk to her friends and have Liberia in mind. She should be able to communicate that dream to everyone, not be afraid. It shouldn't make her any different for her to say, oh, I want to go back home and I want to do this in my country. And somebody asked me, oh, I didn't know you're Liberian. They should already know she's Liberian because Liberia should be at the center and at the core of her. And she will go on to stick those values and go on to ask people to help her. But it starts with we, the parents. It starts with the community. We rely heavily on people of you in Liberia to help us and to educate us on these things. Because some of us, like for myself, I haven't been back to Liberia. I don't know what's going on right now. I rely on the news. But what so much can the news give to me? But you really need a mentor in our life to really help us in those areas and shape our understanding of what it is that we can do rather than replicating business out there in Liberia. And it makes no sense. How can we immerse ourselves into what's going on if we don't have no knowledge of what really that we can position ourselves into?
All right. Thank you so much, Queenie. Robertson, I will give you quick 1 minute, and then we'll go back to everybody to do their closing statement, and then I will close. The first edition, we're almost there. Go ahead, Robertson.
So what I would say to that effect, or to the question of the guy asked concerning the Liberian pitches, one of the things, or what makes communication important is that once you can communicate to everyone, the message is going across. That's communication. So in our Liberian context, what sense does it make if our leaders or big book people, as we would say, go on ERBC, they use all the jargons, and our people and even ourselves, we don't understand. Those who call educated people don't even understand the jargons they may be using. So if we were communicating just our picture and everyone stands to understand, you go to red light, people use it, you go everywhere, almost everyone understands it. So what is wrong with it being elevated that we all can understand it, and even people can come, we can show them. We can show it to them. We can explain it to them. So I feel that the pidgin in Liberia that we call the colloquia is something that unifies us. If you speak colloquia here now, everyone knows exactly that you are from Liberia. So that's my thoughts, on that.
Thank you so much, Robertson. We'll take a closing statement and I will read a few of our comments and then we will wrap it up for the day here. We're already 2 minutes over our time. So Abigail, please, what are your closing remarks today? I want you to reflect on the whole idea of this Liberian dream where instead of us sitting down and complaining all the time, why it's not happening? By doing this, we are taking one step to start to drop it in the consciousness, starting these kind of shows, starting these kind of conversations and narrative that will force us to intentionally confront it because we too are part of the problem. We are not playing our part. So we can start to consciously remind ourselves, what can we do to further this idea of building the Liberian dream where all Liberians, regardless of your age, regardless of your sex, regardless of your religion, regardless of where you are, your one common denominator must remain Liberia. And the responsibilities that you owe as a citizen must be to that country, regardless of whether you are in Australia, Norway, the United States. The one thing that you must yearn for is how can I fulfill my responsibility to my country as a Liberian? Abigail, your closing statement.
Yeah. So the first step is to understand and then embrace who we are. So if we do not do that, I don't know where we're heading. Another thing is, if you are born a Liberian, you will always be a Liberian. Whether you go to heaven or you come back down to hell, or out of the country, you will always be a Liberian. And for me, I think that the Liberian dream is a step in unifying us, because at this time where we only know about politics and about money and about all the beauty pageants and all of that, I think Liberian dream will help us direct our focus, give us a new sense of direction as to where we must head as a people. And also it will help us refocus our energy, because we are Liberians. The first thing we must do is to embrace it, understand it, and also think about ourselves, think about our families, our community, and the nation as a whole. Thank you. Leo, I'm done.
I think Leo has frozen. So, okay, thank God he has just switched me. I will just come off my parting comment. So what I would say to this effect is I want to thank, Mr. Leo Johnson for this brilliant idea, and all those of you watching from outside, like my colleague just said, you are born as a Liberian and you will die as a Liberian, regardless of where you are in this world. So the only way we can be able to put ourselves out there is by embracing ourselves, number one, and we can be able to share the idea. We can be able to tell our friends. In fact, this debate, as we started as of yesterday, I've been getting influx of messages from permanent friends, and in fact my instructors, they are asking about the subject and how the discussion should go. So I really want to be grateful to Queenie, to all of our mentors from the KUO, and all of our leaders, so we can make the difference. If we put ourselves together, Liberia, we can see the Liberia that we want to see. Thank you, and I love you all.
Thank you so much, Robertson. Queenie, go ahead.
And for me, honestly, the first step is to identify with our culture. In every situation, in every circumstances, let it start at home. I think that's the best place. It should start at home. Once you start out, when you can have that conversation with your uncle, your mom, about where you're from, and be confident to talk about it. If the charity begins at home, it ends at abroad. So at the end of the day, we should be able to identify our gifts, and we should release our gifts with our culture in mind, identity in mind, and also to inspire other people. That shared success and shared knowledge is very much important to the Liberian dream. We should be able to share that knowledge. If you see a Liberian sister at work, let's educate each other on even the type of food we eat. Little information really goes on. So I think identifying with our culture and really understanding and being bored in what we do, it takes us further. It takes us further. And thank you so much, Leo, for organizing this and to focus on Liberia. We thank you so much, and to our viewers and those of you that are commenting. Stay tuned to this, and we're growing together in this, and it's a very great journey for me, especially. So let's be bold and let's be proud and let's take it on. Let's speak our English. Let's be proud of ourselves in whatever situation we find ourselves in. We are Liberian. Let people know that by the way we talk, by the way we do things, and we shouldn't be afraid of questions. And if they ask a question, let's have that opportunity to educate them too about who we are.
Thank you so much, Queenie. I would just read quick some comments here for 1 minute quickly. From Thomas Aweje, he says, Leo, I don't follow you as often as I should, but I'm inspired every time I listen to you. I'm older than you are, but I consider you a mentor. Thank you there, Thomas, much appreciated. Rachel Johnson said, that's right. We need to own it, good or bad. Well said. And some of the comments that's also coming on there, you can actually see them as I'm reading them. We have Edwin Sharif says, the Liberian Dream will transform Liberia. And then we have Thomas also said, Mohammed said, I answered Mohammed's question already, so I'll skip that. Krantofaya Sia says, so true. She said also, she said it all. Princess Moore said, the thing is that we are naturally different from other African countries. We're so quick to adapt to a situation. That includes speaking in a different accent for others to understand us. Thomas also said, what language does the so-called Kongwa people speak? As a child, when I left Liberia, I was not around people who spoke any other language. Sele Maxfoy says, powerful insights. Umvali said, the first process of regaining the consciousness of our culture is to begin defining ourselves by the name we are called, by our names. They will know us and our culture heritage. Edwin Sharif said, love every good thing about Liberia and make the bad ones good. Princess Mo said, learning dialects are based on the schools. If you don't include that in the curriculum, you don't expect students to learn. I learned to speak my dialect, Princess. It wasn't in the school. I will read one more and then I'll wrap up here from one of the latest comments. Menina Smith said, this dream must become a reality. So let me wrap up by just telling all of you that next week, not next week, the week after, it will be every other week. I'll be here and the next thing will be focusing on community-driven solutions. And the focus of that theme will be, how can we build a nation? How can we develop a nation building agenda, regardless of what type of government? Whether the government is doing good, whether it's corrupt, whether it's bad, how can we have a robust agenda that no government is able to derail it, regardless of its excesses? Because this attitude where we've come to a point by saying that if the government is not doing well, we got no choice but to sit down and just criticize and just say everything is doom and gloom, has become the new narrative that has seen us repeating the same thing over and over. And like the wise people often say, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result is insanity. How can we start to shine the light on young and old Liberians in Liberia who have managed to keep the nation building agenda alive, regardless of what government was in power? How can we learn from that and make that our new way of thinking about the future of Liberia, rather than thinking about who will become the next president should determine what the future of Liberia becomes? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. It's been a great time here. It's been so amazing. We want to thank our technical team. Thank Focus on Liberia for making this possible. None of this will happen without them. Thanks to Anthony. Thanks to Mr. Dennis Jar, the technical crew that has made sure this is recorded in history. Today, January 24th, 2021, the Liberian Dream was born, and it will continue. Thanks to you, Robertson. Thanks to you, Abigail. Thanks to you, Queenie. Again, my name is Leo Napolo Johnson, and I came to you live this evening from the beautiful city of Hamilton in Ontario, Canada. Have yourself a very good new week, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
We are Liberian. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Liberian.